Now we're going to talk about cultural differences. We've got most of these up here, so frank and candid versus vague and ambiguous. An Australian will tell you exactly what they're thinking, whereas a Filipino tends to like to work around it a little bit and be less confrontational about it. And you tend not to disagree openly, whereas we will disagree with people, particularly the boss, and even other people's opinions when you're in a team. Your opinions disagree. So there's no right, there's no wrong. There's benefits in both approaches. This is how the countries evolve. Resents authority. I suppose it has something to do with the convict heritage in Australia, where the prisoners were sent to start the colony, and ever since then we rebel against authority. Whereas you're very deferential to people in charge, whether you agree with them or not. You're deferential. So if you're a manager, an Australian manager, and you're dealing with people here, just because you're paying deference to them doesn't mean you're agreeing with them, whatever. And if an Australian doesn't understand that, he can get very mismatched outcomes and expectations. So this isn't about you understanding Australians. You do need to, but the Australians have got the obligation to understand you and how you then work together. We've got this up there too, which is independent versus interdependent. An example is when I left school at 18, before going to university, I wanted to leave home. And not because I had an unhappy home, but I'm a man, I'm 18, I want to be independent. And I went home after 3 months. And about 18 months afterwards, I left the second time, and that was it. But that's typical of Australians. They want to get their own place, be independent, etc., travel. Whereas in the Philippines, you got this interdependency with the family, and you tend not to leave the home until you get married, etc. To do with the community, Australians typically, their involvement is with their family and close groups of friends. Whereas with Filipinos, you like to get involved with what's happening in the community at large. You know, the cities, weddings, and all sorts of things. And partly because it can give you a little bit of power. And when you've got that little bit of power, you can help the people within your family. It's sort of like the motivation why it's done. It's not just altruism. Reciprocity, this is the favour. If an Australian does a favour for somebody, he would expect at some point me to do a favour for him. But that's it, one-off. Whereas with a Filipino, if somebody does you a favour, there's sort of like an ongoing, the rest of your life, you've got an obligation to that person. So it's very, very different. It's a very significant difference between them. Pakikisama? What's pakikisama? Pakikisama.
Yeah.
What is it? Who would like to stand up and explain it?
It's like camaraderie.
Sorry?
Camaraderie.
Yeah. And Australia has mateship, being mateship, which is a close bond. But typically, the mateship really only happens when there's some sort of adverse circumstances. Then the bonds really form. Time of strife, hardship, wars. It's the mateship that keeps everything together. But yours extends much further than that. It's a fundamental difference. individual control versus fate, God's will, all that sort of thing it was meant to be. So if you set off to do something and you don't succeed, it's fate, always meant to be. Whereas an Australian will say, I've decided to do that, I failed, it's my fault. I'll fix it. I'll try again, whatever it is. But Filipinos are fatalists. God's sitting up there watching it. And, you know, and it's, frankly, it's an opportunity for you to pop out. Not to take responsibility for the fact that you might not have done something as well as you could have. It's God's will, as opposed to, gee, I could have done that better. So it's important for Australians to understand how you see it. Individual decisions versus consensual. These things are up there in different words. Australians generally are quite happy to take a decision on their own and get on with it. Filipinos like to involve the family. Now, if you go back to the conversations we had about making good decisions, the number one reason for bad decisions is you don't look at enough options. What's great about this is by going and talking to other people, you'll get many different points of view and then many more options. So I think in general, you can make better decisions typically than an Australian can if you do that. So normally there's not one's better than another, they're just different. I actually think that's a better way to go about it so that you do get more options in your decisions. Custodial care versus family care. This is about difference in views of families and old age. What Western societies tend to do is people get old and they need a lot of care, is to put them into a facility where they get professional care. Whereas the Filipino family has the responsibility takes on the responsibility to look after the children. And then you could argue the reason why you have such big families is there's so many children to keep around so you can share it around. The essence of this is we're all different. There's differences amongst Filipinos and amongst Australians as well as across the boundaries. Some people are quiet and reserved, some people like to be communicated with in certain ways. It's just, the overriding thing in all of it is respect. As soon as people start taking a view that one's better or superior or whatever, it falls apart. You've got to have respect. And when there's potential misunderstandings, when you're in a team, be prepared to comment in a nice, gentle way. Help them understand. This is a fantastic one. Anybody who opens a conversation and says, look, with the greatest of respect, what you're really saying is you're an idiot. And people from another culture can say, oh, he's listening to me. When in reality, the person's got no interest at all in what you've got to say. He's going to tell you his opinion, and that's the way it will be. So beware of conversations that begin like this. That's not bad. You just say, yeah, that's good. So because they've said it's not bad, you think it's poor. It's the opposite. This often comes when somebody puts up a fairly radical idea to the boss. This is a very brave proposal. And what they really mean, you're a bit of an idiot. You're insane. And you say, oh, he thinks I'm encouraging. Fantastic. That's quite good. And that was really a bit disappointing. So we're having a meeting, and I say, I would suggest, so do it or be prepared to justify it. So it's not a suggestion at all that means do it. So no, You're having a conversation, somebody says something, and you say, "Oh, that's very interesting." It means bloody nonsense. You think that I'm impressed. I'll bear it in mind. Could you do something for me? I'll bear it in mind. Which is, I've forgotten already. You've got no intentions of doing anything. But they want to say it. I'm sure it's my fault. It's really your fault. And these are relevant and personal conversations. You know, in the early years of my East-West relationship, we had many misunderstandings. I only have a few minor comments to make. Please rewrite it. Could we consider other options? So these are just simple phrases that you can hear over the phone. So it's really important for you to understand the real feeling of the person on the other end. So it's about respect. Really embrace the difference. You know, the world is a much richer place for all these different cultures. So embrace the difference. And if an issue evolves, then just have a conversation.